Get ready for the UWC On Air Power Hour, our weekly showdown of brain power and speed. As the episode kicks off, keep your eyes peeled for the electrifying Power Hour question. Answer it like a champ and you can score a fantastic UWC On Air hamper. But here's the twist. You must submit your answer within the hour after the episode ends. Ready to seize the spotlight?
And welcome to UWC On Air with me, Nkanyezi Kakane. We've got a jam-packed episode lined up for you. We're talking student housing solutions, tech-savvy rugby wins, and some awesome music talent that'll blow your mind away. Coming up in this episode, it's home away from home. How UWC alleviates student housing shortage. How rugby coach Paul Treu used tech to win big.
Hey, I'm Chad Saaiman, and later on I'll be telling you about my journey.
The city of Johannesburg is stepping up its efforts to help alleviate the shortage in student accommodation. The city has been engaging with institutions of higher learning.
I've registered for everything, but the problem is that I don't have the accommodation.
We are no longer at ease. The struggle for #fees must fall. And we're talking about the obligation of universities when it comes to the accommodation of students.
We have not been granted e-residence yet, and we're still worried because classes are going to start soon and we need a place to stay.
Safe student accommodation remains one of the most frustrating challenges students find themselves dealing with, especially when entering or returning to tertiary institutions. That's why UWC partnered with various branches of government to make Unibell a reality. Unibell is the ultimate 2,770-bed student facility that's as cozy as home. It is described as perfectly conducive to living and learning. The new 670 million rand facility has it all: gyms, laundromats, and even power generating technology. And the best part, the secure complexes are just a stone's throw away from campus.
The Unibell Student Accommodation Project is part of the Phase 1 of the Student Housing Infrastructure Program, SHIP as we call it, of which the University of the Western Cape is allocated 2,720 beds. The Unibell project is also significant as it demonstrates our own Department of Higher Education and Training commitment towards partnership with universities and development finance institutions, with provincial and local government as well, in the provision of quality student housing infrastructure facilities.
We believe Unibell, a residence of this nature, will go a long way in helping us to provide and to make this experience what it should be. Unibell has really, as the VC has indicated, filled in some significant space. At this stage, we have over 5,800 beds that we are able to offer to students, the beds that are university owned, and of course we supplement with many other ways.
At UWC, we find ourselves in the hustle and bustle of Robert Sobukwe Road. It is a known smash and grab hotspot. Safety on campus is of utmost importance to our security staff, but we've taken it one step further. We've joined forces with community organizations, making the area outside of campus safer than ever before.
We started the ball rolling by looking at what's the type of crimes that were reported in the area. The risk assessment showed there was crimes of armed robbery, common robbery, but mainly the target was students. Students for their laptops, their cell phones. So we wanted to do something extraordinary. But again, the law limited us to within the boundaries of the university. Unibell is outside the boundaries. So we've asked some of our colleagues and friends in the area whether they wanted to partner up with us. So we will pull in the city of Cape Town. We pulled in law enforcement. even the MEC's Office for Civilian Oversight and Police, we called in the police. It's all about management of crime. What do we want to do to deter? We want to arrest? We want to move it to other areas? Or is it just in general we want to create a safe and secure environment for our students? We created a team, the task team, an operational team, and we've presented them with a memorandum of understanding that we will now work as a team. We will jointly combat crime. We will assist the police in their mandate to investigate or combat crime, and through a partnership, it's becoming a model that I believe that needs to be rolled out to the rest of South Africa.
After the break, Coach Paul Treu reveals his secret weapon behind the team's success. Let's talk rugby. Paul Treu became head coach at UWC and set big plans in motion. As coach, he led the UWC rugby squad to varsity shield victory. And get this, they were unbeatable. And it's not just raw talent. There is some secret sauce involved in their success, and we got the inside scoop. Let's check it out.
My journey has been quite interesting. I'm an alumnus of the university. I studied here, so it's almost like full circle for me. You know, I've studied here and I played my rugby, and I became a coach, and then obviously now I'm coaching the team. So it's good for me to be back. I think, you know, coaching at the highest level, coaching the Springbok Sevens for a couple of years. And when this opportunity obviously came up, you know, I didn't hesitate. I just felt like this was, you know, my next challenge. This was my next opportunity, and I wanted to contribute and I wanted to give back. You know, coming to the UWC and, you know, playing my rugby, being a student. I played for the SWED for almost like over 100 games. And then I also played for the Springbok Sevens for, I think, about 2 or 3 years. I kept in the side, and funny enough, you know, when I took over this job from late Chester, you know, he was also the person who selected me for the Springbok Sevens and made me the captain of the team as well. And under Chester, we also won our first ever international tournament. So it was only maybe fitting for me also to take over from Chester. It's important to just to focus and zoom in a bit on Chester, because I think Chester, what he represented and playing for the Springboks, you know, winning a World Cup back in 1995. And I think everything that we're doing from this point going forward is to give recognition to Chester, is to pay tribute, you know, to him as a coach and as a person and what he has done for the country. Oh, my app is a hobby, but it's a very expensive hobby. It's called phase play. It's like the chaos in the game, and how can you prepare for the unpredictable moments in the game. And, you know, technology has always been very close to my heart. I'm a very principle-based, very system-based coach. And I think when I look back, you know, whether it's at elite level like Springbok Sevens, the Springboks, you know, any national team, professional team, they always have the best software in the world. But what's been lacking is, you know, then when you get to your school level, to your club level, to university level, is that people don't really have access to that kind of technology. And I think that was my purpose, you know, of building an app like this. Is basically a collaboration tool. It's a communication app where you can have all your centralized communication, you know, in one platform. There's a bit of sports science built into it. I've always been big on data in analytics and sports science, and I think it's a tool that you want to make, like I said, accessible to people, and that you can see when athletes are using it at a very young age, when they eventually move on to professional sport, that the transition isn't that difficult for them. Because when they go into professional and elite sport, they're confronted with a lot of new things, and you almost want to expose them to technology earlier. It's educating people about wellness, it's educating them about load management, it's educating them about injury surveillance, and just your workflow.
After the break, we take a look at a space that's gearing students up for the world of work.
The University of the Western Cape has a bold history which started from humble beginnings. What was once described as a bush university has grown into a forest of knowledge at the forefront of learning, teaching, research, and innovation. You, our alumni, have seen the growth of the university from its old prefab buildings to its recent state-of-the-art science buildings and the new Faculty of Education. Growth and constant improvement does not stop here. We need to keep growing to meet the needs of the future. We have a goal to grow the university infrastructure for the future to ensure UWC students are empowered with knowledge and skills for careers that don't exist today. We have a vision that UWC will be the home of new African knowledge. This vision requires resources. Those who have passed through these halls and walked these paths, we ask you to join us to leave a legacy for the future. All we ask for is a small monthly donation to help us achieve our vision and grow the rich history of UWC. In 2060, UWC will celebrate its 100th anniversary. Let us leave something today to sustain the growth and existence of UWC. Alumni, students, staff, and anyone who can contribute, let's make a small contribution today and grow the University of the Western Cape one brick at a time.
To get students ready for the world of work, UWC DVC academic professor Vivian Levac has created a magical space called Zone Learning. It's mixing up art, science, and everything in between. You know, the jobs of the future haven't even been created yet, but UWC is getting us ready like a boss.
When I went to Ryerson University, now called Toronto Metropolitan University in Canada, I had the privilege of actually seeing how their zone learning worked. But they didn't have clinics. They had what they called zones, and I was blown away by their one zone, which was called the transmedia zone. And the possibility of actually having storytelling in whatever form, whether it's digital storytelling or some other kinds of media, just did something for me, because I come from a kind of place where we told stories. And so what we did differently, as you would know from our other promotional material on zone learning, is that we, instead of the zones, we then thought that in our context, it would work much better to have different clinics. So the clinics that we have in association with the law faculty, for example, the entrepreneurial law clinic, we have the small business clinic that sits under economic and management sciences faculty. But then very importantly, within the zone, we also have the new and transmedia clinic. And this is where storytelling sits. And I'll come back to this thing. What is it about storytelling that's so exciting, and why UWC? And then we have something that we can also talk about, our green incubator, that's part of zone learning at UWC. We are quite engaged in the community, but when I looked at it from the outside, just having arrived here at UWC, my sense was that the way we were doing it was almost like a soup kitchen approach to community engagement. You do a lot of outreach, you hand out, but the old adage of instead of handing a fish to a person, rather give the person a rod with which you can fish, and enable the person to be doing this from their own empowered self. We don't research at or work at the community. The community they co-creators of knowledge with us. So when we have a truly engaged project, you cannot just helicopter in and helicopter out. Even in the conceptualization of the problem, we often think we know what the problem is. But if you don't involve that specific community that you're trying to research, say for example, you have a research issue that you want to deal with, whether it's substance misuse or any of other kinds of issues. If you don't involve that community, even in the conceptualization of that, your outcome might not be a contextual fit.
So the New Media and Transmedia Clinic also recently got in students. So what we currently have, we have students in two of the entities, the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic and the New Media and Transmedia Clinic. The aim is when students enter zone learning is to prepare them for the world of work and to give them either soft skills or hard skills. The softer skills would be more of how do you interact within a group or interact one-on-one with a group of people. The hard skills is the type of skills that we're giving them that would add value to the organization. For example, if you in the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic, we would help you to understand corporate law contracts, helping businesses, registering clients, drawing up contracts, doing consultations. So that, after they completed that would give them, it adds value to the organization. In the New Media and Transmedia Clinic, we teach people how to use transmedia to enhance organizations, I would say, media and communications output. For example, if you complete either the workshop or the short learning course, then you will be able to tell a story, so any story. So whether it's the story of a brand, whether it's the story of the organization, it doesn't matter, you will be able to tell a story. But then you would be able to identify what is the legal and ethical aspects that they have to look at. So can you just take pictures of a person? Can you just go into informal settlement and start filming? What is the ethical aspects about it? Which media form would work the best? Is this best for podcasts? Is this more blogging? Or is this kind of a video output that you want to give? And then we tell them, look, this is the different platforms, different channels of marketing that you can use, and finally, how can you distribute and monetize some of this?
We've got a multifaceted artist in the house in this week's segment of Them and Now. Many top-nominated artists very seldom go the academic route, but Chad Saaiman, a summer-nominated wonder, is not your average artist. This week, we caught up with Chad, where he told us about his UWC journey and how it led him down the yellow brick road. Stay tuned.
I kind of had an idea that I was different. I guess some people would have called it weird back then, but I was always a bit different. So uncles would maybe give me like $10 and say, okay, dance for us or do this. And I realized, okay, cool, there's something here. I am a bit strange compared to my peers, compared to my brother, my family. But I think my mom was always the one who allowed me to explore and just express myself. So I have an idea that I can sing, but I know I'm not the best at this point. And we put a group together called PQ, and we do a song by the Backstreet Boys on Valentine's Day. There's a thing called a moment of impact, where something, an occurrence goes down that changes the course of your life. And I start the song, and as soon as I sing the first line, that changes my entire life, because I realize as it leaves my body and it goes to the people, and the response that the people give me, And you know it's high school, people scream for anything, but there was something in that moment that made me realize that, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. From that point, I stepped off stage knowing that, wow, my actual dream, which was to be a professional soccer player, has a challenger. And I said, look, I want to do music as a career. And my father initially said, Chad, look, you need to go study something first, get it behind you, get something, behind your back before you step into such a, I guess, volatile industry. So there was a day where we were home and my mother was off. It was a very rare occurrence for a mother to have an off day. And we always talk about it now. Whenever she had an off day, something would happen, either in my life or in one of the, my siblings' lives. And this day we had an ad on the radio, and I swear it was Good Hope FM playing an ad about UWC. And we listened, and it said, do you want to be a journalist? Do you want to be this and that? And we both heard journalist, and I was like, Mommy, journalism, that's what I want to do. That was the only other thing I wanted to be outside of being a footballer. I said, Mommy, we got to go to UWC. She's like, Chad, you're right, let's go. We went through, and we're like, my son wants to do journalism. We were a bit late, but we got in. And I went to class, and I would just go to class. I remember, it's a long time ago, but I do remember having my application form in my bag 2 weeks into going to class. I wasn't doing a journalism course. I was doing, particularly, it wasn't focused on that specifically. It was a BA, and there was English literature, there was language and communications, linguistics, there was sociology, anthropology, there was just all these things, communications coming together that was so broad at the time, but I didn't understand what it meant for my future because I knew I was going to sing. But I went through it, and I studied, and I did well. So I kept going through it. And after I graduated, I went into music. So it wasn't a thing because I knew I was going to do music. Even throughout varsity, I was singing 6 nights a week as well, studying 5 days a week, playing soccer 4 days a week. It was a lot. But when I left, I stepped straight into making music. It then caught up with me that I could write a song. And because of studying English, understanding poetry, understanding, iambic pentameter and so forth, and all these different things, and then taking music and the poetry I learned as a kid, I put it together, and I had a knack for songs, and had another moment of impact where I got to write a song for Loiso Bala, who was at that point one of South Africa's biggest artists. And I wrote a song for him, then wrote another, and that opened me up into having my own music career. At the time, it felt like it prepared me for nothing in particular, the BA that I did. But the truth is, it actually prepared me for everything that I faced in life. I have about 7, 8 new songs that I'm putting out. I can't say when, but this time I want to take this project and I want to just pass it on to someone else to get it out there. I've been recording very quietly, not making a big deal about it. I feel like the brand work I've done across music and radio and anything else has allowed me to not be one thing. At some point, I would like to write a book about my journey. Like I said, it's not been a linear journey. Some people would know 2011 I was involved in an attempted hijacking where I almost lost my life, which is something that I feel I can share and inspire a lot of people about, not only going through it, but I think the comeback. I'm sitting here because of the comeback. I'm sitting here because of, God's plan. I'm sitting here because of resilience. I'm sitting here because of not giving up. I'm sitting here because of getting help and talking to someone regarding my trauma. I'm sitting here because of having family support. Sitting here for so many reasons that's not my own. And I think if I get to share that with my journey now in entertainment, starting as a songwriter, moving into being a singer, moving into being an artist, into co-owning a record label, into now being on the radio, I think there's a lot to learn and things that people can take across the board. So we'll see when that book happens.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of UWC On Air Season 2. We hope you enjoyed all the vibes with us. But before we sign off, let's groove to one of Chad Saaiman's mind-blowing hits. See you next week.
I'm about her in the day, I'm about her in the night. She don't call me back, baby, why, baby, why? I just wanna play, baby, don't you run away. Said she's going overseas, living up in NYC. Said she couldn't get too close, cause she probably wouldn't leave. Why don't you just stay? Yeah, you know you wanna play. Started with the fire on the beach. Got a view when it's looking like a peach. You just wanna stay out of reach. I put my hand out, you just wanna tease. Fast, but you wanna move slow. What's the point if you say you wanna go? I'm just chilling, getting like Jon Snow. I'm getting cold, baby, feelings getting cold. Something in my brain said that my heart's feeling wasted. Oh my.
Did you spot our Power Hour question during the episode? If you've got the inside scoop, send your answer to onair@uwc.ac.za. Remember to follow and stay glued to our social media pages to see if you're one of our lucky winners.